Welcome back. Today we're going to be flying out the Sea Vixen, and this thing is extremely situational, so take what you see here with a grain of salt. It's pretty boring playing the cover, so I tried to do my best to get the best footage I can. I got some highlights at the start here. Everything will be as usual, timestamped in the progress bar. We'll have a 6 kill game, 5 kill game, some dogfights, some pick-offs, some highlights, some whatever. So how do you fly this thing? You basically fly it as a rat. You just make sure that you're fast, you make sure that you third party people. And the entire skill ceiling of this thing is dependent on, well, how willing is the enemy to let you missile them. Because the second they keep their speed up, the second they don't commit in your fights and they just kind of fly away from you, there is very little you're going to be doing. The RatTops are amazing missiles for 8.3 and it definitely shouldn't be this low of a BR. But the missiles against planes like the Mk.2, the F.A.W, Sabres, Mk.2s, all that good stuff, G91s, you're essentially never going to hit them as long as they don't commit to the fight. Right here I'm really kind of sketching around because this Mk.2, if he pitches up to me, he will be able to get a lock on me. So I simply just throttle down my engines because he's going to try to force a head on with probably the R60. I'm going to be turning into him here because you can see that it's already hovering. I'm about to get a lock here. You can tell that the nose is coming up right now and then he eats it. Pretty perfect timing, but again, if he had just kept the speed, there is nothing I'm going to be doing. As a third party plane, however, this thing is incredibly strong, and that's mainly because, well, if people are busy with someone else and if they're not very fast, these missiles will find their target. Like this AV8 here, he's a way to slow the dodge regardless, because the RatTops still turn very well, and if they get near you, they will blow you up. These missiles are about 200 kilograms, and you definitely notice that when you fire them at people, because I've yet to get a hit with these things. Every missile I've shot, even when it misses by a mile, has simply just blown them up completely. And when you dodge like that, of course you're going to take the missile right in your tailpipe. I see two guys on the deck here, going to be diving on them. And first things first, I'm going to be locking on the IL-28, shoot the missile at him. We simply break off because that's going to hit, and if it doesn't, no big deal because he's going to be flying away. The G91 here doesn't have much speed to work with, but as you can see, he doesn't have the energy to keep with me here, and because he tried to stick with my 6, I can simply loop over. I have a lot of altitude on this guy. I'll prime up the missile, and at this point he's simply too slow to do anything. So I just launch the missile, that's going to hit, boom, there he goes. And that's the exciting gameplay you get with the Sea Vixen. But let's get the performance out of the way for a second. How is this thing? It's a grinder, because that's probably why you won this thing. Well, as I said, it's pretty situational, but it's also pretty consistent. On the situations that you need will pop up at least once a game. Getting 1 to 2 kills on average in this thing is very easy, and I say that because, well, flying in, getting a lock on someone, simply lobbing a missile is not the most skillful gameplay in the world, and as we all know, killing air targets is very lucrative. So in terms of getting RP, getting silver lines, a lot of people will do fine in this thing. As long as you keep this thing fast and you're not getting up tier to 9.3, you are virtually untouchable. Killing someone else, of course, is a little bit of a different issue. Because, well, as I said before, if people pay attention to you and you're on your own, it's very hard to kill people. Here comes the missile. Kill number 2. I'm gonna lock on the A4B here. It's the A4B, he's not going very fast, he's going 600 at most. And the A4B at low speed simply, it loses too much speed, so the more he tries to dodge, the slower he will go, and the easier it is for that missile to actually find his prey. And another funny thing about this, because, well, the radar is very helpful on this. I saw 2 TU4s, so I'm going to be locking them up, and that means that I don't have to actually look directly at them. And because I don't have to look directly at them, I'm not as much in danger of the turrets. I lock him up, I'm trying to get a little bit in range, just kind of shoot it off ball, pull out before the missile's even there, and he's gonna eat that, boom, he's dead, and we're gonna lock up the second guy. The second guy is of course going to notice me because these two guys are, well, in the squad, so this guy is definitely paying attention to me, and you will see him start opening up any second now. There he goes, but because I have him radar locked, I don't actually need him to be in front of my nose. Well, of course he needs to be in front of me, but I don't have to look exactly at him, making it much harder for him to lead. So I just kind of aim it below him, shoot the RatTop off, and lo and behold, it will find its target. And here we go, 2 full games, 5 kill and a 6 kill, both with a landing of course. This guy is basically stalled out, so I third party, missile 1 connects. We dive a little bit further here, looking who I want to kill here. The F.A.W is definitely the biggest threat here because he's faster and he maintains his speed better at higher speed as well as lower speed. So stalling him out is a little bit harder, even though the G91 turns better. Turning isn't much of a counter when the plane is this much faster than you. So G91s are a little bit of a non-issue, so I'm just kind of going to ignore them. He gets missiled as he tries to pitch up for me. That missile is not going to curve in. It's not an AIM-9G or a J. Maybe even an E, but a B is not going to pull in there. And I drop back down here, and that's one main thing that you really have to keep in mind with these missiles. The load factor isn't very good. And that means is that sometimes you try to fire. I want to go for the Mk.2 because it's the higher priority target. Don't get the lock, and we're going to be pulling out here. Keep paying attention to the guy behind me. He goes full commit, and now we go for the Mk.2. I have 2 missiles left, and the thing I wanted to talk about is mainly the load factor. And you will see plenty of that, especially in the second game, because it's really easy to get impatient because you want to get the missile off at a certain point. The missile won't fire, and then you kind of have this subconscious idea where you keep spamming the button, you will fire it eventually, and that's completely true. But at the point you actually slammed the fire, or slammed the fire key, your missile will actually be too late. I shot at the Mk.2 hoping he wouldn't really pay attention. Unfortunately so he did, and now I have 1 missile left and there's 2 guys in the area. And there's still a third somewhere around as well. So now, what we are going to do is use the energy of the Sea Vixen to stall out the Mk.2. And the funny thing is, even though the Mk.2 is an extremely powerful plane, if I fly this right, he basically can't do anything versus me. I also can't hit him if he plays it right. So it kind of becomes a little bit of a stalemate. And the second the Mk.2 gets a little bit greedy, overcommits a little bit too much, and he stalls out, or isn't fast enough to actually go nose on to me, he will eat this missile, and there's very little he's going to be doing about it. G91, same deal. G91 is actually less dangerous than the Mk.2 in this thing, because well, the Mk.2 holds its speed better and accelerates better at higher speeds, whereas the G91 just dumps all of its speed. Don't really accelerate that well above 750 to 800 kph, below that is very good, but as long as I stay above 800, 850, this guy is never going to get anyone near me. So we are just going to put it into a very slight climb here, and we are going to try to pull them a little bit closer to us, so that they lose a little bit more speed, they get a little bit greedy, because right now I'm pulling into them, and because of that, well, I say there's a lot of videos, they are closing the distance now because they're cutting me off. They're not actually catching me. They're closing the distance. They're going to get very, very close, but when they get just close enough, I can simply pull away from them. Just increase the separation by just enough, and then I will stall on top of them, and I will shove this RatTop right up the ass. And there's very little they're going to be doing about it. Right now, the Mk.2 overcommitted completely, 1.4 kilometers, and you can tell that it's not very hard for me to go up a little bit extra. Now I cut my throttle, drop the flaps completely to just go turn just that little bit quicker. Delay the stall as long as I can. We throttle back up now, but this guy is way too slow and we're way too high for him to actually do anything about it. And there goes the Mk.2 AS, and we are gonna go right back to the airfield because we need some new missiles. And here we are again. We got 4 missiles back. Well, back on 20 minutes of fuel. A little bit excessive, but we're gonna need every minute we can get. We're gonna drop back down on this guy. He needs cover, so I'm gonna be trying to pull behind him. And what does he do? He starts turning at the worst possible time because I'm slotting in on his 6, and because I turned so badly and he turned into me just now, I won't be able to get a missile shot off. I see that they're starting the dogfight, hoping the G91 is gonna pull away from me. He doesn't. I noticed that, so I'm just gonna pull off. I'm gonna go back up, go back to safety, and then drop back down the moment the G91 presents its ass. And he will very, very soon here. The problem is that this A4 is making it very hard for me to actually come in and help him, because he keeps turning into me. He comes to lock, break lock, and there you go. I couldn't fire it because it was gonna go for the A4, so I have to pull back off again. G91 is right ahead of me, right behind me. Make sure that he doesn't shoot a missile at me. We go horizontal, we go up. We have enough separation yet again, and now the A4 is actually in a very bad spot. He needed help, I understand that, but the way we synergized here made it so that I couldn't actually help him. I could have probably reacted differently to this G91 and the A4. I could have been a little bit more passive, but I wanted to help him so eagerly that I actually ended up not helping him at all. Sometimes waiting just a little bit longer might be a little bit more risky but less of a dice roll, and sometimes that's simply the better option. Right now I'm going to get directly behind the G91. The A4 should start turning now, so that missile doesn't actually track him, but he does set him up for me. At this point the G91 can do very little, unfortunately, so the A4 was way too slow, but he did bait the G91 and he will eat the missile. Sorry that I wasn't able to help you, but I really just couldn't set up my plane better than that, because well, this plane is a massive boat and I made a little bit of an assessment error. You also didn't help with your loops and the way you turned into me, but that's on both of us. And after flying in front of the airbase for 2 minutes roughly, this guy wasn't camping. Don't start throwing hate at him, he did not camp the airfield, he is simply landing and rearming. I'm just waiting for him to pop back up so we can actually fight each other. There he is. I'm going about 980, he will not be doing anywhere near that. And this is simply another demonstration of how you can bait someone into a loop. And if this guy hadn't followed me, if he had just flown straight right here, that's again very little I'm going to be doing. He's going to be pitching up for me. Exact same thing as with the Mk.2. I'm kind of pulling into him here, so it looks like he's starting to catch me. I do want to make sure that I start turning preemptively, because if I actually stall myself out, very big chances the G91R4, which has the AIM-9Bs, and if I stall myself out, it's a very hot target. That thing is not going to lose lock, and I'm just going to eat it. Not able to get the lock here. He pulls back in. Notice that it's a G91R3, which means that he doesn't actually have missiles, so I start going just that little bit extra aggressive, because I'm not as much in danger. Rip one of the flaps off. Not the best thing in the world, but at this point he is so insanely slow. I'm already gonna get the lock right here, because he doesn't even get the ability to get his nose completely up. He's way too slow, and he eats that RatTop right up the ass. And here we go. Full game, a long game, a little bit of a carry, but also not really, but you'll see why that is at the end. Right now I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not the first one spotted, so I break off a little bit. I make sure that I get in a good position, because you cannot be the first one in this thing. Well, you can be, but the second you get people on your 6, sure, you can run them out of energy all day long. When there's multiple opponents, a very big chance they're all going to be trying to pull head-ons with you, and if they're all trying to pull head-ons with you, well, these missiles are not going to track them. And you can also notice that I'm not using the radar that much, and that's mainly because, well, most of the locks that I'm getting, you don't really need to. If you're at higher altitude, you can shoot them from the sides. If you're like the Yak-38, you're going to get that lock from just that little bit extra far, and you can kind of side aspect them. But it completely depends on the games that you're getting. I didn't find much use for them, much use for locking them, but of course it will help, and if you think you need it, feel free to use it. But in this gameplay right here, it wouldn't have changed anything. Right now we're turning in a little bit, just making sure again that I'm not the first one in. I'm trying to be the second row here. Normally I like to be up the front, trying to take some pressure off the team, trying to get some people on me, maybe take 2 or 3 guys out at the start of the match. But this game it wasn't the case. Notice the F2H, I locked him up because we're at a little bit higher altitude here, so I can actually do that. But again, it's not really necessary. But in that loop he's going to do it right there. That is simply going to hit, and he didn't really pay attention to it, making it not that much of an impressive shot. But I mean, are you here to get impressive kills with the Sea Vixen, or are you simply trying to grind? And coming back to that load factor thing, exactly right here is what I'm talking about. I'm going for the F11 here. I lock him up, and I have load factor too high. I kept spamming the spacebar, and because of that I missed a window, I missed a missile. And that would have been an easy kill. If I had waited, if I had shot it a little bit earlier, there was no use for me to shoot that off. I'm simply getting impatient, I get the load factor too high and just start spamming that spacebar in the hope that it comes off in time. But by the time you're already spamming, you're probably already too late. Learn from that mistake. For now, we come back in. A4 is very slow, and right now I'm just going for opportune target. Unfortunately, he was already on fire. That's a second missile wasted. But I can't look into the future, and he was on fire after I shot the missile. I'm sorry for stealing that, but I wasn't aware that your rounds were about to be in the air. I got 3 kills, and now we are simply gonna fly back to base, because I have no impact on the game anymore. Sometimes it's a good idea to fly around with 1 or no missiles, and you can bait for your team, but right now there's plenty of teammates in the area, and I feel like I'm gonna have more of an impact if I simply get more missiles and be able to get 4 more kills later on. And here's the F11 that I missed the missile on because I was spamming the spacebar. A little bit unlucky, but in the end it's not gonna bite me back in the ass. Because, well, he's locked right here, but I could have killed him there and that would have 100% hit him. But it's not needed for me right now to shoot my missile. I already got 3 kills and there's a Mk.2 right behind me. And we are alone on this side of the map. So I'm gonna be trying to get this guy a little bit slower. I'm gonna be trying to stick on this guy 6. Just to make sure that this guy gets killed by the Mk.2. I'm not really worried about trying to kill him. I'm just trying to pull on his 6, stay on his 6. So this guy gets aggressive. This guy goes into the dogfight. And the Mk.2 takes his wing clean off. And that's a missile saved. Dive it back a little bit. Get our speed back up. And I'm going to speed this up because it's going to take a little bit. And because, well, this plane is boring enough as it is, I'm hoping that the footage is at least somewhat entertaining. I know that a lot of you guys didn't want to see this thing. But I think for what it is, it's not the worst plane to watch. It really just depends on how you fly it, how you edit it, I guess. Because flying it in general, like playing it is very, very still and it's very mind-numbing. Luckily, it's very consistent. It's very easy to get 1 to 2 kills per game, as I said, because it's not really affected by the way you aim or the way you fly. As long as you come in at the right time, getting 1 to 2 kills is extremely easy. Of course, if you mistime that, and if you actually have to start dogfighting people with this thing, likely you are going to not get much. But after you get used to this thing, it's really not that bad. I think it's pretty good. I think it's way too good for 8.3, but well, that's just my opinion, and a lot of people have been disagreeing with those kind of things lately. And to those people I say, well, better come up with a structured argument. Because right now it's the same as a B-57A, but with missiles, well, it's way too fast. Remember when that thing was 7.7? 7.3 even, I think. At least 7.7 as far as I remember. And you couldn't catch it in anything. And you can say it doesn't really have an impact on the game, which is completely true. But is it fair for a plane to be completely untouchable? Especially with these kinds of missiles. These missiles do not belong at 8.3. If I fly, say, a 262A1U1, I shouldn't be facing these missiles. And you can give the argument that a 262 shouldn't be 7.3, which is also correct. But it's also not correct. It's simply the matter of compression. The entire BR range is an absolute clusterfuck, and that means that everything is over tiered and everything is under tiered at the same time. How many jets in this game are completely busted in the down tier and then completely just useless in a slight up tier? The compression in this game is absolutely insane, but I'm not going to be talking about that because we're actually going to have a little bit of a team fight and probably the most interesting gameplay I'm ever going to get flying this plane. 2 A5s. Mk.2 is pulling this guy up. Unfortunately for us, he pulls into us. And I let him know in chat that I can't actually get the kill when he pulls head on with me. And he actually listens to that. He's trying to give me the kills. He's trying to set people up for me, and I'm trying to do the same for him. And we have some pretty good teamwork here. It's actually gonna be a little bit of a carry. Problem is, there's a bomber somewhere in the corner of the map, and you already know what that means. Are we going to win this map? Are we going to lose on tickets? Am I going to get shot down? Stay tuned for more. I'm pulling all of these guys up right here. He's trying to. Not everyone is of course taking the bait. Mk.2 is going for the target. That's actually the most opportune. The A5 Sabre. Unfortunately he misses. And we go back down for this guy. I noticed that this guy is getting very, very slow. And I just misjudged that shot. Again, I got impatient. I have 4 missiles left. There's 3 guys in the area. And I wanted to kill one as quickly as I could before the 4th one comes in. But because I rushed it, I now have 3 missiles. And the problem with that is, that's very instant. You shoot where you shouldn't have. You're gonna lose about 25% of your ammo. It's not like with the F9F, 1F2, where you take a shot at long range, which you're probably not going to hit, but you can try it. In this thing, you're down to 3 kills instantly. With something like an F2, you can still, with some ammo management, make up for the rounds that you missed. In this thing, you can't really do that, so you really have to be conservative. Luckily, I did stall out the F9F. I'm not sure if he hit him or not, but right now I'm going to get directly on a 6. At this speed, 0% chance he's ever going to dodge that. He eats it right up the ass, and we are going to go back to horizontal turns. And we're going to be trying to bait one of these guys back up. I have 2 missiles left. I need to make these 2 count, because if I kill 2 of them, the Mk.2 only has to kill 1 more. Back horizontal, these guys are not going to be catching me. So I put it into a little bit of a dive. I'm going to be trying to get out of range of this F-25. And once we do, we can simply go straight back up. He's going to be trying to shoot me because I'm outrunning him now. Mk.2 is running him down, however. So the longer we wait and the higher I pull this guy up, the bigger the advantage for us becomes. Sure, there's 3 of them, and I have 3 of them on my 6, but I also have the Mk.2 right here to clean my ass, and I'm in a plane that's able to outrun all these guys all day long. Unfortunately, don't have enough tickets to do it all day long, so I have to be a little bit more aggressive than I like to be, because otherwise there is simply no chance we are ever going to win. I pull him horizontal, he's a little bit closer now. Mk.2 is getting in position, so if he follows me right there, he will simply die, and that's what I want. And I've been saying simply too many times in this video, and if you have caught on to that, I'm simply sorry for that. I'll try to not do it anymore. I really have just a single word that I keep repeating in the video. Some videos it's slam, some videos it's busted up. A little bit of a broken record at times. Mk.2 pulls 2 of them up. One of them goes head on, and the other also pulls head on with me, which is the good thing to do. Mk.2, if he had pulled the other way right there, he might have actually been able to win it. But I don't really know what his situation was right there, and if he was able to pull the other way, because maybe he wasn't actually paying attention to me. Maybe he doesn't realize that I don't have guns. I'm getting a little bit frustrated in the chat, but I also want to win this. I'm not really blaming him. I'm not mad at him, but he needs to turn the other way, and if he doesn't, it's gonna be very hard for me to actually do anything other than push these guys off his 6. But right now he's starting to get it. He's starting to turn the other way. He's starting to give me some shots here. The other A5 on the right there, the PS4 player, is actually paying attention, and he's trying to make it so that I do not have the angle here. He broke off of the pack to then pull back onto my 6. That F-Saber is a little bit too far away, so what I do right here is I pull the A5 a little bit to the side, make him turn that extra little bit so he has to pull more and he loses a little bit more speed. I'm going to be dodging the A5, look up the guy in front. He is not going to be dodging this. I lead the missile a little bit. We fire it off 4 kilometers altitude at that speed. Nah, you're not going to dodge it. Back up we go. 2 to go. 5 kills. 2v2. I have a missile, so I can at least kill 1 if I play it correctly, and if the Mk.2 plays it correctly, this should be an easy win. This could have been easily 8 kills for me if I had slammed the F11 at the start and didn't shoot my missile off like a moron. And then I would have had a second missile left right here as well if I hadn't shot it at the A5. But a lot of ifs, a lot of what ifs, could have, would have, should have. I didn't do any of that, and now it's 2v1, and all I need to do is, well, keep pressure on this F25, but at the same time we need to make sure that we don't lose on tickets. So I need to find this the B57 as well. So it's kind of, you can see that I'm kind of contemplating where I have to go, where I'm going. But at this point I think the Mk.2 has such of an advantage, and he has been playing it pretty smart, otherwise he would have been dead by now. So I can probably try to RTB, and that's the only chance I'm going to get here. Because right now the Mk.2 is my only hope to kill this guy real quick. And if he doesn't actually kill him, well, we lose, because I can't really RTB right now. So in the end I decided to go for the F25, help him pressure, and help the Mk.2 pressure the F25 so he can get the kill, and then I can help the Mk.2 find the B57, and then we can try to win the game just before the tickets run out. The problem here is, well, you're gonna see that in a second, and it's not actually the tickets that are going to run out. There is something else is going to happen. It's very unfortunate indeed. Mk.2 got a hit, and again he makes a pass on him. He doesn't get the shot, he breaks it off, he goes back up, which is the right thing to do. He's playing it the right way, and he's been a very great help, and he's about to get his, well, I wouldn't say third kill, but he's going to neutralize the third enemy right here any moment now. I'm trying to keep my trajectory up, so in case anything goes wrong. There we go. I kind of felt it. I don't know what it is, but I kind of felt it that something was gonna go wrong, and it did. Right now I'm gonna go back to the airfield. I need to get my missiles back because I'm not able to kill the last guy, and if I ram the B57 out of the air, I don't actually win because they have way more tickets. Unfortunately, upon my landing the tickets are gonna run out. It's gonna take a little bit actually. It's gonna take 3 to 4 minutes before these tickets run out, but in the end we are going to lose, which is very unfortunate. But that's all I have for you today. Is this thing worth it? Probably as a grinder. Did I enjoy it? Absolutely not. Hope you enjoyed it, hope it was helpful, and I see you all in the next one.